Hey everyone, welcome back. It is Icon. Thank you so much for checking out another episode of Esports Analysis. Today, we are hopping on board with Formal as the Chicago Huntsmen go to battle against the New York Subliners. A couple things before we actually get into the analysis. First of all, we are on board with Formal. So I wanted to watch this from his point of view just because it's been quite a while since we've really seen a breakdown from an AR position. So at least in my videos recently, we've really been focusing on Envoy point of views from Scum, stuff like that. And then the few videos before that, we're actually breaking down footage from the previous event. So on this one, I felt like it had been a while since we really watched a main AR point of view. So that's why we're on board with Formal currently. I want to make sure that I'm always giving different perspectives, right? If we're always on board with SMGs, then we're not really understanding all the parts of the game as much as we would be if we're just constantly switching things up a little bit. So with that being said, let's go ahead, let's get into the analysis here. So with 10 seconds left, we are about to rotate from P1 to P2. So with that, the first thing that I'll say is that Chicago has been able to flip spawns, and that's the most important thing, right? Even though they're down by 20 points after the first hardpoint, that's not going to hurt them too much just because of the fact that if they're able to get 40 or 50 points inside of P2, then it all would have been worth it. The other thing that I'll say real quick is that it's also important that they get spawns at some point in time for P3, P4, and P5. So even though, they're all set up now, it's really nice. They have control of P2. They are getting pushed out, so I would assume that this would probably be pretty contested pretty quickly. And right there you see Formal spawn out. And with that, that's not always a bad thing, right? Let me stop this real quick. Let me break this down for you guys. So just real quick, I want to show you exactly what happened there just because you might be wondering why Formal spawned out. So Formal was obviously inside of P2, or he was right outside P2. He was actually out in the front, and he ended up spawning out. So normally what happens in that scenario is New York starts pushing from both sides. And if they push from both sides, and especially if they try to get in the back, now where's the game going to spawn him, right? They can't spawn him over here because there's somebody pushing that left-hand side. They can't push him from over here on this right-hand side because, again, there's people there. They can't spawn him out back. So the only thing that the game has to do is just spawning him out towards P1. So that's why he was able to get that spawn that he just got. Is it great? I don't know. I mean, it's not the worst thing that could have happened, but overall, I feel like as long as now he's able to hold down this back position, then for the last part of this first set of rotations here, Chicago will be set up fairly well. That's a nice kill on Mac right there. Now, the only thing is that obviously New York now knows that he's back there, so they're probably going to end up pushing him out fairly hard, and right there, so Temp was able to kill him, and if you're a Chicago fan, unfortunately, they weren't able to wrap through there. And I'm not really quite sure what the issue is with that, because normally when teams leave P2, they send a couple people over towards Woods so that they can hit that flank and get those P5 spawns first. That isn't what happened right there, so not quite sure what happened. This is when it would be nice if I could hop into Codcaster and control the angles and stuff like that. We could actually see the mini-map and what's going on with everybody. Maybe one day I'll be able to get into games like this. But either or, there's 16 seconds, and New York has built up a lead. If you're Chicago, this is a little bit dangerous just because of the fact you still don't have spawns for P5. And if you had to claim a money hill on this map, it's definitely P5. P2 is fairly close, but as of late, pro teams have gotten so good at infiltrating P2, pushing one side, because if you think about it from the defensive side on P2, you have to have somebody in every lane in order to keep your opponent spawning mid-map. Well, if you know that and you're the team that's attacking P2, you can just send 5 down one route, and once you get in, now it's basically a contested hardpoint. Whereas on P5, it's a little bit easier to control because you don't really have to push out. You can control those from right inside of P5. With that being said, when Formal came up off a spawn right there, that was a really nice spawn. Again, it looks like they pushed out P3 over on the left-hand side. I don't know if Formal saw that guy. That's what I was just looking at. I was staring at his mini. I saw somebody was in bottom green, and he didn't quite pick it up right away. He was able to get the kill, and then as soon as he got that kill, there was a couple people that spawned in after him. So with about 7 seconds left, not only did Chicago get a lot of the time inside of P4, but they were also able to keep spawns. So we'll see what happens here. Again, once you're in this scenario, it's usually pretty easy to hold on to the time inside of P5. Since Formal died somewhat near mid-map, I'm actually a little bit surprised that the game spawned him out right there. Let me go ahead. Let me pause this again just so you guys can see exactly what's going on. So since Formal died somewhere like in this range, right? That's where he was. That's where like their force, their I guess the opponent forces were set up. Normally that would spawn him back P5. And I think what happened is that when he got that kill, they got pushed out just a little bit. There has to be somebody over towards Adom because that's the only reason that they would spawn him out. So when Formal came up off a spawn, he spawned back behind them over here. So it's not the worst look. If you get 1 or 2 kills, you should be able to get back into it. But still, I was a little bit surprised because I figured that they were pushed out far enough to where they wouldn't be spawned out again. Now, with 30 seconds left on the current hardpoint, they are spawning over by minecart, and that's a little bit problematic just because they did have spawns. They had everything set up to take a pretty big lead into the second set of rotations, and now it's just kind of going back and forth, right? So when they spawned over towards minecart, that means that New York was over here towards woods. As they were approaching from minecart, New York rotated over that way, got kills, so now when Formal came up off spawns, he's over in woods. That's kind of how P5 works, but you can see from New York's standpoint how beneficial it is if you can get inside of P5 and then get pushed up on those edges a little bit, then you can really lock down a lot of time, and they were able to get back into the game, and now it's only a 9-point game. Unfortunately, if you're looking at the minimap in the top left-hand corner, they also got flipped for P2. My guess would be that an SMG somewhere snuck out on the left-hand flank side because there's no way that they came through the right? Let me go ahead. Let me show you this also. So if I bring up the minimap one more time, so New York was in P5. There's no way that they could have escaped over towards woods or over towards mid-map. It's just not possible, right? They had it locked down. So my guess would be that as Chicago was spawning here and was pushing boxes, they got killed. Remember, Formal spawned over here towards Bdom. He got pushed into P3. He ended up dying. My guess would be is that right when that happened, that's when whoever ended up killing them on that side of the map probably just kept going and pushed through around P2. So now that Chicago thought, well, there's nobody on that side of the map because we have it locked down, I'm watching the cross, so on and so forth, even though they thought that was the scenario, obviously somebody pushed through, and now things aren't looking quite as good for them. I will say that they did a nice job of getting, right now they've already gotten like 20 points inside of P1, and that's beneficial just because of the fact that if you get swept in P2, then now you're really only positive or negative like 30 instead of negative 60. But we'll see if they're able to break this, because had they been able to lock down P2 spawns and say they get 40 points out of that, it would be 170 to 100, and this game would pretty much be in the books, right? Now it's going to be quite a battle trying to get back into this. But with that being said, the best thing about scrims is that we can listen in and hear exactly what they're talking about. I do want to hear just a little bit more because we get to hear from General's point of view. Not from General's point of view, but we get to hear what he's saying, and I really love listening to his communication. So with that, let's go ahead. Let's turn up the audio, and let's listen into the Chicago team comms.
Front and back door.
Yeah, it's left side barrel, left side barrel.
Oh, he got me, Mac. There's 2 there.
I'm going new.
Right door pinch. God damn it.
Going new as
Oh,
well.
did you spawn crates?
I spawned back.
I spawned crates.
I did too, my bad.
Bro.
2 and old, 2 and old. One's hitting out bathroom. Bathroom Donnie. Bathroom Donnie. Right now.
Water.
Bathroom Donnie. There's 2 guys.
So far, this has been just a fantastic. That's exactly what you want to have happen on that P2 hill from the New York point of view, right? They were able to flip as P1 was starting, and each and every push from Chicago got thwarted right towards mid-map, right around train tracks. So really nice job there from New York. We'll see if they're able to now flip again, because as it goes from P3 to P4 to P5, Chicago set up. We'll see if they're able to keep it.
Front, Lamar.
Got a little bit. Yo, spawning
I made it over. I might have just killed you.
Oh, wow.
I brought one.
Vent to pipes, probably. Vent to pipes.
I'm 1 minute, 1 minute.
Monster tight.
Front nading over.
Give him a weak.
Okay.
Couple fuckers need help.
I'm just helping Hill. I'm helping Hill.
Middle's
Fuck
open.
off, dude.
Not Mac dead. Over
I
there.
can't get it yet.
Attach, slide the hill. He's going hill. Jump over the green wall. He
Wow.
jump over the wall.
Dash on Han.
I got
Nice,
it.
good
One.
job.
Nice.
I'll
Good
get
job.
time. I'll get your time.
Two done.
Front of old Mac. Front of old Mac. Front of old.
That right there, that was a really nice job of Formal, is that he could have just stayed on that back head glitch and he could have tried to shot through the smoke and get kills from there. But once he got the first kill, obviously New York would have known that he was in that back corner. So he pushed up more towards B-Dom in that left side, and then he looked back, and as the smoke cleared, he was able to get the kills from there. That was just one of those kind of veteran moves. I don't even know if I want to say that it's a veteran move, but it's a savvy move, right? He knew that he was going to get killed if he stayed in that location, so he pushed up through the smoke, was able to look behind and get kills, and really nice job there. So as we're getting towards the third set of rotations, it's basically a tie ball game. We'll see, again, the most important thing here is Chicago going to be able to lock down and keep these spawns for P5? That'll probably make the difference in the game. Let's see how it turns out.
Let's get up and win.
Old Mac. Dead.
There.
Okay, he's counting wrong.
P3 here.
Well, I'm trying to help
Nade
you.
in front of you,
I
P3.
fucking naded myself. Don't push it.
Yeah, I'm stuck here now, dude.
I'm running
Yeah,
away.
that's honestly better. I died.
Alright, yeah, I am.
I'm gonna go back left at the hill. I'm going back left.
Spawner. Fucking goddamn, I literally spawned fucking doggy, dude.
Got two there in the
I'm watching right cross. I'm watching right cross.
No way.
Front door, right, done.
One's front door.
Front door, Mac weak. Front door, Mac weak. Doggy, Mac. Doggy, Mac. Doggy, Mac.
I needed it.
I have the cross.
Go to the back,
Dead.
One in the cross.
Let's make sure if we spawn out on the side.
Pinch him, P3.
Just watch down.
8 in boxes. 8 in weak. 2 P3, 1 in dom. 2 P3, 1 in dom.
Alright,
I'm high 1 P3. There's 2 guys boxes. 2 boxes. Boxes dead. Boxes, one shot, Donnie.
Yeah, he's dogging.
Donnie, one shot. Donnie
Yeah,
dead.
Dylan, in the back, Dylan.
Behind me P3. P3 Lamar.
They're all gonna hit that.
Lamar's P3 to boxes.
The 8 down.
I'm saying now.
Front door. Weak, Max.
I'm pushing him back P2.
Holy shit, bro.
All right, so things are getting pretty intense here. I will say that even though that got a little bit squirrely at moments, Chicago was able to stop all of those advances outside of like 10 or 15 seconds or so. So really nice job there. Now, as we go from P1 to P2, we'll see if they're able to either finish it on P1 or get the flip for P2. Let's listen in.
For all this time.
We have crates.
You. I got bad timing, my bad.
I know what 4 is, dude.
Water
Back train.
Front train Lamar. One's close crate, 2 close crate. You probably Lamar.
Bathroom's dead.
You probably Lamar. I need help. Crates. Rock.
Bathroom again, Donnie.
Another one crates. Lamar's crates.
Crates and bathroom.
Coming forward. Hang on.
Crate's dead.
Looks like they're trying to finish this here. They need 9 more
Lamar's gonna
seconds
be
on
rock swimming.
P1.
Water on you.
Yeah, one's you, bro.
I'm gonna stay down.
Water right now. You still.
Rock, inner crates,
still
maybe?
dead.
Nice good plays.
Rock,
Dead.
dead. One more hill. Dead.
Stay down.
Mobbing with you.
Milk that time.
I'm trying to.
Heavy
Water,
bathroom.
have to be water, have to be water.
Bathroom dead.
Nice.
Wow, and with that, they were able to stop them there. I'm fairly surprised that they were able to do that, just based on the fact that they didn't have anybody pushed up, right? Let me go ahead. Let me stop this one more time for this video and draw this out. Now, if you're on top of P1, then it's not all that difficult to get time inside of P1, especially if you have somebody pushed up towards P4, because you know that your enemies are going to be spawning over here, very similar to if you have control of P4. So as they start running back, if they want to go towards P4, they have to run around, but it's pretty often that they would run water or run through lockers right here. So the way that you get time inside of P1 is to have people pushed up kind of in these locations here. So if you can get those kills or at least enter those gun battles from this location, now you're able to really get time inside of P1. And that really wasn't the case there. As New York was pushing, they were pushing basically all the way to hill. You even saw Formal die on the left-hand side over there by rock. So they weren't able to push all the way up, but that was a really nice job being able to hold on and get those final kills there. So as we're taking a peek at this, Formal 23 and 27, probably not the best match he's ever played, right? But on this map, again, it's a little bit more difficult to run an AR just because there's so many close quarters gun battles. So 23 and 27 isn't terrible. Envoy and Scump, Actually, Envoy in general leading the way. So this might be the first map that I've broken down like this where Envoy in general really led the way in terms of the slaying department. It's normally Envoy and Scump or Envoy and Arcides, and then normally General's the one that's running like the 23 and 27, somewhere in there. So if he can continue to do that, then that's a pretty good it's a good sign for Chicago as they move forward into this next tournament there. So overall, vibes seem to be good. Communication seems to be good. So we'll see if they can continue this momentum. So with that, guys, thank you so much for checking out another episode of Esports Analysis. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I put out a brand new video like this every single day. If you have any comments whatsoever, put them down below. I love reading what you guys have to say and the interactions. Leave a like before you head on the way because it really helps out the channel. And with that, thank you guys so much. I will catch you in tomorrow's upload.